Okay, so here we got all of our brake parts. I'm just going to walk you through them super quick before we go take everything out of what's on the van. So from Small Car, we got these Zimmerman vented and drilled rotors, huge. We've got, this one's easier to get to. We've got the new hub with our wheel bearings installed and our studs on there, which we've had to, they're in the other box. We had to go switch to bolts instead of the nuts, so that's big. These are our G60 calipers. I'll show you the ones that I'm doing out there. Got some pads from, who is this? TRW, apparently that's a thing, and our stainless lines. Then to go on the inside, this is our BMW booster. I'll get you the number for that when I find it later. Oh, here we go. I believe that's it, the 3433. That's what I looked up to get this one. It's off of 80s. I don't even remember, E30 maybe. And then just our stock master cylinder. So that's cool. So anyways, that's it. I'm gonna go hop in the van and start taking stuff apart. Okay, so just to walk you through this, we just took out the whatever dash display, all that kind of stuff. So we got all of our, connections, our fog light switch that we had to jankily wire up that we don't need. So that's all cool. We got the master cylinder and the reservoir that kind of sits up here off. Got the brake lines unhooked, the light lines unhooked. So that's all out. Now the big struggle with this whole, this whole piece here is the bolts for everything are back behind there, and at least from what we can tell, these are bolted in, but the ones down here are like riveted in or they got a weird attachment going on here, like maybe it's an Allen key, I don't know. We haven't messed with that yet. So the question is going to be, I've got the top two out of this. I'm working on the bottom two, which I'm thinking the extension on the little stubby is going to be the way to go. But the question is going to be, can we pull it out? So I've kind of lowered our fuse block mess of wiring, got our vent out of the way. So the question is, can we kind of tuck it in here and then snake it out through the top? And if we can, that's great. But now if we put the one that's the BMW that's an inch bigger, can we get that in there? So we'll see. This is our current mess of junk, and I'll report back when it's out. Okay, so this is what we've here. All right, so this is what we've got in here. So this is, of course, behind the steering wheel. We've pulled everything out of here. So this, getting to these bolts, I don't know if you can see, but the bracket has like a it's got a shelf sort of in the back. We've got a ridge along the back that tapers downward, or tapers upward, I guess. Gets narrower as it goes up. So when you get in here, you're not really getting in very easily, especially because there's a lot of stuff that was living back here. So I think you can see the brake pedal arm right here. That's where the clevis attached that we've got on the back of the booster. But getting to these bolts, but really the bottom two was really, really rough. So what I had to do was I pulled the top bolts out of this bracket, and then when you press the brake pedal in all the way, that actually forced the bracket and everything and the whole booster and all that as far forward as you could, which then let me get a hand over to the top so I could take out the top one here. This one wasn't too bad. And then the bottom one, I had to do that push on the brake pedal, so that I could get down to the bottom one. But then what was really killing me was this last one down over there. So what I ended up having to do, I pulled all this junk out of here. So this is the heater pipe that goes along this side to that vent. This heater pipe with the blankety thing on there is like the other half. So it starts behind this and then it snakes around through here and then it goes into, I don't even know if you can see it in there, but there's an opening down in there. It goes into the side of the heater box, underneath all this electrical junk down in there somewhere. So that's kind of where we're at. That's what we've got going on. So next up, we're gonna do the tapping and dyeing of, or is it just tapping? I don't know. Maybe it's just dying. We're gonna get the threads right so the clevis fits on the new booster. Get it threaded up to the right spot, and then that will be ready to mate back to the brake pedal, bolt back in. The switches and stuff like that. The brake, is it the brake light switches? I think. To be honest, I don't really know, but I think it is. Those switches can go back on the master cylinder. All that kind of stuff can get buttoned up. The reservoir I'm going to clean out because it's full of sludge. Move that over, and then we can link all this stuff back up, put our heater pipes and all this kind of thing back together. Hopefully we don't break anything, and then this stuff's all done. Then we can get to the fun stuff where you actually get to see something that's cool, because this is cool, but it's not that cool. With the big rotors and the calipers and all that kind of stuff. But to start with this is what we've got here. So this is the original Vanagon booster. And this is my BMW booster. The difference really is this is 10 inches, this is 9 inches. So you get, from what I've read, it's like a 20% increase in pedal power that you feel. But that doesn't necessarily mean stopping power. You got to upgrade everything else in terms of rotors and all this kind of thing to make sure that you're not just going to blow through everything. So the big thing you got to change between these two to get that one to work is this is the clevis. This basically lines the brake pedal, goes up through here and then gets pinned in, and that way when you push on the brake pedal, you're pushing the bottom out. There's a pivot point in the middle, I think, or something like that. I don't exactly know how it works, but it either pushes or pulls this in or out. One of those directions is correct. So what we got to do is take off this and tap it so that it fits on these threads, because this is a larger thread diameter. So we've got our boosters out. We pulled the clevis off of the, if you zoom in just right here, we pulled the clevis off of the original one. We've got to tap it. It's an M10 1.5 thread pitch. So we're just cutting it real slow, getting our threads in it, and this is going to let us thread this clevis back onto the booster like I was telling you earlier, and then we can go throw it in the van. Okay, so here we finished mounting our clevis. You saw the little tap thing we did. We've got the pin, it fits, and we've got a little cotter pin in there. So we're ready to throw this whole deal in the van. So just wanted to show that you'll never know what you'll find in an old car like this. So I was down here working on the brakes, and I was peeling back some of this carpet, and I was looking in here, and right down there found a whole bunch of condoms from 2010 just stuck underneath there. So I guess we're good now. I don't know.
Party van.
That's right. Right, so here we are again. Yet another day of installing van brakes. So I'm pretty fed up with it at this point, because getting in here to reach around, how I've had to do it so far is, okay, here we go. I've had to reach down from underneath, snake my hand through and behind, kind of push past this little tight part where the heater core, you can't see any of this, but where the heater core and the booster kind of come together. Then you can get around to the aluminum bracket that you can just see the tab of. You can get around to the back side of that, and you can just barely with a finger, just the fingertip, you're touching the threads. So I've decided that isn't going to work, because I've done it about a million times and it doesn't work. Okay, so yet another day, and pretty much scratch everything that I've included up to this point, because I found the trick. So the real trick here, let me show you, is you've got these two bolts on top for the bracket, and then you can't really see them, but kind of right down on that tab, or the other side of the bracket, or the other end of the bracket. So pretty much you pull those four out, and you can get this thing so far out here. That's our whole clevis situation that we had to do. I got to fix that cotter pin. Let me see if I can get it to focus on that. Yeah, fix that cotter pin. I can finally see back in here to see those four nuts and bolts. That one down there that just has the nut on it down at the bottom, that was the one that I was struggling with, and I was cutting up my arm and was just, I was fighting it forever. So with the bracket loose and able to move, so now my pedal assembly is all just loose and wiggly down there, but that's fine because I'm going to tighten that all back up. Now that's fully out of the way, I can really really wrench down on these, make sure everything's snug so we don't lose any I don't know, pressure. Oh, it's still settling down there. So we don't lose anything as we drive and we brake, and we want it to all be properly tightened so that we don't have any issues. So that was huge. I just had to say that. So okay, so finally we are pretty much back to where we started, but now with new and better stuff. Let me kind of show you here. So booster's been installed. All of the heater piping that goes under and goes around behind has been put back in. We got our new master cylinder that's got plumbed up with our brake lines and plugged into our switch. So at this point, everything is ready to go. I've got the couple electrical connections and the speedometer cable you can kind of see back there for the dash to put the the instrument cluster thing back in. Which I mean, looking at this thing, I can't believe that it's going to fit, but it'll be fine. So I'm going to button. Actually, I don't think I'm going to button that up. I'm going to wait because now I'm going to grab the jack, put this thing up on jack stands, and then start taking the wheels off and start looking at the rest of everything. So we'll see how far we get. All right, so I just want to give a little comparison between the two things we've got here. So first off, let's look at the old stuff. So this is the old, let me get the light right. This is the old rotor, which is a little dark. And actually this is the old rotor and hub assembly together. So we're replacing that with this guy over here. And so this has the, it's drilled for heat dissipation, and then it's also vented in here, so if you get the angle right you can see my little fingers through there, because that actually goes all the way through, whereas this on the other hand is just solid. So when this soaks full of heat, it stays hot for a long time. Going over here, we've got, this is a single piston, and this is our brake pad that goes with that. Now for our new stuff, we've got the dual piston, and this is our brake pad. So as you can see, just surface area for once again, for braking, for heat, all that sort of thing. We've increased that quite a bit there. From what I understand, the single piston's a larger diameter than either of the individual pistons on the dual piston, but the combined surface area of the two twin pistons is actually pretty comparable to the single piston. So that's why we didn't need to change our master cylinder. All we changed up front was the booster. So all in all, this should, I don't know that it's meant to actually, at least the pad and rotor caliper setup, actually make us stop any faster. That's more to do with, from what I understand, what tires you have. I think the booster is going to give us a feeling that we stop quicker because it's going to be applying more force. But we're going to have to watch out with no ABS that we don't lock up all the time. Or not all the time, but you know what I mean. That's just something to be conscious of. But really, this set is going to really help our heat dissipation. So when we're coming down those forest roads like we were, and at the bottom of the hill, we got no brakes because everything was just soaked, because you're riding them for so long because it was just nothing but downhill. So that's what we're hoping to avoid here. All right, quick update. As we are working on the brakes. So the small car, the kit that they sent had hubs in it, right, which I've got here. It's got hubs, it's got bearings, all that kind of stuff. Now the problem is these studs that were pressed into the hubs, they are basically they're too short for us. So they would, actually let me grab one here. They would fit the stock wheels, either the steel ones or the Carrot wheels. They would go in far enough, they would stick out far enough, and then you could get your Lug-Nutz on there and call that good. You'd be done. Problem is, since we've gone to the Mercedes wheels, we now have, I don't know if it's got to be a combination of the slightly different offset and just the thickness of the wheels, because these have a little bit of a lip to them, whereas the Mercedes ones are pretty flat all the way, so you're gaining a good amount of meat there. So anyways, I'm chatting with Chris from T3 Technique, and he's going to get us the right studs that we need at the right length. We did the same thing for the rear drums, so we've done this before, it's not that bad. You just press them out, press the new ones in when they get here in a week or whatever, and then we'll be able to toss it all on the van and call it good. That's the hope. Alright, we're going to do our first brake test, so we'll show you the finished product here. That's a noticeable difference, I'd say. Oh, we need to put our cap in a little better, but that's fine. We can finish that. But yeah, we got quite a bit more meat there on those boys. So it's gonna be good. Blake and I are gonna go for a ride. See what happens. I mean, we should be able to tell by the end of the driveway if it's working or not. So time will tell. Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.